Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death unto immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. This Vedic prayer leads us from the unreal to the real. What you are praying there, in terms of the example that we set, lead us from that forest in the lake to the lake itself. Do you see? Lead us from darkness unto light, and darkness of ignorance, because of which we think we are this body-mind, unto light that is pure consciousness. Lead us from death to immortality. As long as you think that you're on this side of the screen, that I am this body, I am this subtle body, this gross body, then I'm in the realm of death. Why? Because it changes. A baby grows into a child into an adolescent, and you say, what's wrong? It's nice. Yes, but what happens after that? A young person grows into a middle-aged person into a senior person, and no matter how much yoga you do, how much gluten-free you take, it deteriorates. It breaks down. The body begins to break down into aches and pains and problems, and finally it dies. So, as long as you are on this side, gross body, subtle body, you are in trouble. That's the realm of death. Change and death. Continuously changing is the realm of death. Mrityu. Mrityu means death. Even the causal body, because the causal body is the seed. The causal body is what we experience in deep sleep. In deep sleep there seems to be no problem. You're not aware of anything. Just blank. In fact, it seems to be rather nice because it's very restful. But it has the seed of the waking and the dreaming in it. The deep sleep will always break out into a dream or a waking, where samsara is there. So both the seed and the sprout are not good. Neither the causal state is good, nor the subtle, nor the physical. But what Advaita Vedanta says, these are all appearances, and the reality is right there. If the snake is appearing, where is the rope? The reality, the rope, where is it? If somebody tells you it's not a snake, you're making a mistake. The classic example of the snake and the rope. It's not a snake, you're making a mistake, it's a rope. Then where is the rope? Where? Where is the rope, the real rope? You're seeing a snake there. Somebody tells you it's not a snake, you're making a mistake, it's a rope. The rope is real, the snake is an error, a mistake. Then if I ask, where is the rope? Where do you think it is? There itself. There itself. You are mistaking the rope for a snake. That's what's happening. In the same way, if this is samsara and this is false, the reality is Brahman. Where is Brahman?
Right there. Right
here. Right here. When is Brahman?
Right now.
Right now, yes. Not as a slogan. But right here, right now, not as a slogan, but actually here and now. Actually here and now. In fact, the here and now feeling that we get is because of Brahman. The isness, the awareness that we are getting is because of Brahman. So it's not away in some heavens, in some other space. It's not separated from us by space. It's not away in time after death. No. It's now and it's here. Brahman. That's what Advaita Vedanta says. Now, where are we in our story? Okay, let me complete the thought. I was talking about the prayer from the unreal lead us to the real. From this samsara appearance, lead us to Brahman. From this snake appearance, lead us to the reality, the raw. What it means here is, from this appearance of samsara, show us, lead us to the real, that's Brahman. From darkness, ignorance. We are on this side of ignorance. Remember, Brahman covered up by avidya, ignorance, leads to our individual existence. So we are on this side of ignorance. We want to cross over from darkness to light. And that crossing over can happen only by knowledge. From death to immortality. As long as we are on this side of ignorance, we are attached or we are identified with a body which is going to die. And no matter how much Vedanta we read and how much philosophy, it still is going to feel, I am dying. It's because it's not real for us yet. It's just some theoretical stuff. But it can be real. It can make a huge difference. I will not go into the particulars, but a couple of months back, this lady wrote to me that she wanted to speak with me. And many people write, so I don't entertain this because there is no time to speak to individual people. It has to be through a class or something. So I sort of put it up. I said, all right, when there is occasion later on, maybe someday. And then she wrote and said that I am dying. Yes. So I will not go into the particulars. And then of course, I said, of course we must speak then. And over Skype. And she was passing away. She was in the terminal stages of cancer. But so much dignity and light and grace. Because of pursuing a spiritual life. She was interested in Vedanta, in Ramakrishna, in Buddhism. She had pursued different paths and investigated it all her life. And she was very serious about it. Never once did I hear her complain or grumble about how horrible it is and that I am sick and dying. No. She was always calm and dignified and full of light and grace. And I told her once that maybe you reached out for help, but you helped me. You showed me that what this knowledge can do. Cultivation of spirituality, serious pursuit of spirituality, what it can do for you. And then she did pass away a few days after that. So it does help. If you commit to it, it does help. I mean, you forget about being fully enlightened or whatever, but if you take it seriously, if you put your mind to it and stay with it for some time, it will give you enormous benefits. It gives you more benefits than anything else in the universe. So, our movement is from the unreal to the real, from darkness unto light, from death to immortality. This is what we are seeking. Now, Advaita Vedanta tells us that you are this Brahman. All you need to do is to realize this. How do you realize it? In Vedanta, you have to go to a teacher and learn this. And we saw the position where we were in our story. If that the student has come to the teacher and wants to know what the reality is, and the teacher is going to teach the student. What the teacher is going to say, that's what we are going to read. I am again going to summarize the teaching here. But before we go into that, there are different ways. In Vedanta, the method is inquiry. Why is the method inquiry? It's worth thinking about before we go into it. Why is it inquiry? Why is it not prayer? Why is it not doing good works? Why is it not even meditation? Why is it inquiry? Vichara in Sanskrit. This seems like a pretty intellectual thing to do. What has it got to do with spirituality? In fact, this is the highest form of spirituality that we know of in Vedanta, in Hinduism. Final form. If this does not work, then they will recommend Nirvikalpa Samadhi to you. That's far lower. That does not work, they will recommend some other practices to you and so on. But if this works, nothing else is needed. So Vichara. I will come to that, but let's look at the other stages, the other practices. The other practices are the yoga practices, the bhakti practices, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga. What do those things do? Raja Yoga, which is meditation. Basically Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga, it purifies the mind. In Sanskrit, Chitta Shuddhi. Now listen, I am giving you the traditional approach in Advaita Vedanta. You will say, why does Vedanta have to be, Vichara have to be at the top? Why does it get to be at the top? Because we are following the path of knowledge. So they will always privilege knowledge above everything else. Now Karma Yoga purifies the mind. Other practices, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, doing of good works, a moral life, devotion to God, meditation, those are not dispensed with. Those are valuable, but we must put them in their place. And what do they do for us? So Karma Yoga purifies the mind. In Sanskrit, Chitta Shuddhi. The poor Karma Yoga usually gets put at the bottom, but and we think it's a non-glamorous thing. It's a preliminary thing for beginners. Not for me. For me is non-dual Vedanta and Nirvikalpa Samadhi. That's for me. The veritable Totapuri and Raman Maharshi combination I am. Swami Ashokananda, yes?
But you're doing Karma Yoga.
That's also true. We can convert this teaching also into Karma Yoga. Swami Ashokananda, he writes in a letter to one of his disciples, that letter or a talk. Ashokananda ji, who was in San Francisco, he says that when I tell you to do Karma Yoga, I know what you are thinking. You're thinking, oh, Swami doesn't think I'm fit for meditation. Well, I'll show him. And Ashokananda ji says, and you do show me, but not in the way you thought you would. So Karma Yoga is the basis. Purification of the mind. With that purified mind, when we practice meditation and devotion, it concentrates the mind. These two are very much essential for Vedanta. A concentrated mind, a really concentrated mind, not a shaky mind. A concentrated mind which will hold on to the spiritual truth. And a purified mind. Without a purified mind, you cannot concentrate it. One teacher said, all so-called attempts at meditation, the products of meditation, you feel calm and concentrated, that's artificial, that's false, it will not last unless the mind is at its base purified. What do you mean by purified mind? What do you mean by an impure mind? Impure mind, lot of desires and vasanas. 101 goals in life. This and that and the other. Tendencies. All the garbage that we have poured in the mind, at least in this life. Other lives, let's forget it, what we have done. But this life, all the conditioning that we have done for the mind, that's the impurity. And that has to be cleansed. One powerful way, very powerful way is Karma Yoga. Is an unselfish of doing of our daily duties and acts as a worship of God. If you do not believe in God, at least unselfishly, doing the duty to work for the sake of the work. I have nothing to gain for it. You see, the usual way we work is by working for ourselves. Just about everything that we do, for me and for mine. And this puts on a chain of selfishness, one more link in the chain of selfishness. It focuses us, it ties us down to this body-mind. And that's exactly what we are trying to cut, the tie to this body-mind. More selfish action that we do. I am earning money, I am eating food, I am doing all my actions, all my comfort, everything in life for what? For this bundle of flesh. If I do that, then day and night I am strengthening my bond to this little identity. Whatever little philosophy that you do once in a year in Loon Lake will not even scratch the surface. Because I am conditioning my life throughout, I am this body. Whereas Karma Yoga, work done for the welfare of others without concern for oneself, it purifies the mind. It removes that stain of self-seeking in the mind. Now a purified mind, concentrated through meditation. Bhakti is a powerful aid. Again, in the path of knowledge, bhakti is a powerful aid. Bhakti means love of God. Love of God is a powerful aid. Nothing concentrates the mind so much as love. So love of God concentrates the mind, and meditation techniques also concentrate the mind. So you have a pure and concentrated mind. Now when you approach the path of knowledge, Jnana Yoga, what will it do? It removes ignorance. Knowledge removes ignorance. How does it remove ignorance? By producing knowledge, generating knowledge. Knowledge of what? The knowledge of I am Brahman. And that knowledge, how do you generate knowledge? How do you generate any knowledge? By inquiry, by seeking, by trying to learn. So, knowledge of the nature I am Brahman. And remember one key thing here. We are not actually trying to realize that I am Brahman. You will see most of these techniques are usually what I am not. All these techniques we will see now. These techniques are almost always what I am not. Our real problem is we have identified ourselves, we have tied ourselves to what we are not. I am not the body, but I think I am the body. I am not the changing mind. I think I am the changing mind. I feel it. This is our problem. And I must be shown that I am not the body. I must be shown that I am not the mind. Let the body be there. Let the mind be there. But I am not it. I am not limited to it. That's what I need to know. Which Vedanta is speaking about, the real consciousness. How do I go? Here is a technique. Not to write down. To see. Yes. Otherwise, I've got it down in the notes and close the notes and that's it. To see right now if possible. Right behind you, there is this beautiful lake which is deep blue in color. It is a very, very bright blue because the blue sky is being reflected there. So take a look. Yeah, you can see that, right? It's very nice and blue. Alright, here is the technique now. The technique is like, these are techniques based on some Kashmiri Shaiva practices, not an Advaita Vedanta practice, but it works well. The practice goes like this. You go to the, yes, need to close this. Is it coming back?
Yes.
The practice is like this. The lake is connected to the mind. That lake there, that body of water there is like the mind. Okay? And the blue sky reflected in the lake is like the consciousness that you feel in the mind just now. Okay? So far so good? Now, first imagine that you are sitting on the side of the lake, on the bank of the lake, and looking into the wide expanse of water. You're looking at that. And now look into the water and see the blue sky reflected in the water. The blue sky reflected in the water. You're seeing the blue sky reflected in the water. Naturally, the tendency comes, let me see the original. And you slowly open your eyes there, you look at the blue sky reflected in the water and slowly look up into the bright blue sky above. Okay so far? Now what you do is apply this. Look into the mind. Sitting relaxed. Mind is like that lake. Wide expanse of the lake, the wide expanse of the mind. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas, memories. Note that all these thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas, memories, you are aware of them. If you say, Swami, no thought is coming right now. Alright, you are aware of no thought. That's also true. You are aware of the thoughts and feelings and desires, memories, or their absence. Note that awareness in the mind, like the blue sky in the lake. Now, just as you lifted your eyes from the lake to look up at the original sky, this mind and the awareness in the mind which you note right now, what notes it? To what does it appear? Like lifting your eyes from the lake and the reflected sky in the lake to the original sky, step back, turn around, relax back from the mind and the reflected awareness in the mind to the one who notices all this. If your attention wanders away, don't worry. Note that your attention has wandered away. Whatever you're thinking of or listening to or feeling, that's the mind. Note that there is awareness. What is aware of the mind and the awareness right now? Step back. Turn around. Relax back. When you are comfortable, you can slowly open your eyes. That's just a technique. It's called Prakriti Technique to enable you to go from the small sea to the big sea. Some of you, I can see, it seems to make sense. And to some, it might not make sense. If you think about it, intellectualize it, it will not make sense. It's more of a technique, a way to trick you out of your mind. Very simple techniques are there. One is a window like that. You are staring into the blue sky through a window like that. And so there is space, absolutely nothing here, blue sky here, but you're aware of the window, the frame. Now stare intensely at the space framed by that window, intensely, so that all thoughts are blanked out into that space, blue space framed by the window. After a few seconds, drop the window. The frame, just remove the frame from your imagination. What will happen? Just space. It's basically your awareness framed by an object, the window. When you drop the object, the awareness tends to become unlimited. Again, these are all from the Kashmiri Shaiva tradition. Now, coming back to our student who has been whirling around in the cycle of births and deaths, and finally in this particular birth has come to the teacher, and now the teacher, out of compassion, teaches the student the method of vichara. The process is vichara. Vedantic inquiry. Vedantic inquiry. There are different processes, and those who are veterans in Vedanta, you would have heard about these processes again and again. Remember, all this is taken for granted, that to some extent our minds are purified, to some extent our minds are concentrated. And you say, Swami, no, that's a big problem for me. To some extent we all have these qualifications, otherwise you wouldn't be here. Why would you spend a nice long weekend listening to some abstruse philosophy? You could be out camping and having a nice time. It's such a beautiful place. Why listen to long and boring lectures on philosophy? Already there is this purification of the mind, because we are already seeking. That seeking cannot come without an initial purification of the mind, without a spiritual maturity. So already we have some of that, but it needs to be intensified. Alright. Now the vichara techniques, there are different techniques in Vedanta. These are techniques of vichara. These are not, now what the teacher is going to teach is not techniques of meditation. He's not going to teach the student how to sit straight, or how to breathe, or how to do a worship. No. We're not going to teach that. We're going to teach the highest teaching, to know that you are Brahman. How? All these techniques which will be shown are basically pointing out to a reality which is there, available to us, but we don't see it. So that's going to be pointed out. What are the common techniques we come across in vichara, in the Upanishads? One was what we did last time, called Drishya Viveka. Then there is what is called Avasthatraya Vichara. Avasthatraya. I'll translate for you. Then there is Panchakosha Viveka. These are the main ones. This is the method of the seer and the seen. This is the method of 3 states: waking, dreaming and deep sleep. This is the method of 5 sheets. These are the 3 main ones. And last time in our retreat, this is what we did. And these are meant for enlightenment. After this is taught, if the student says, yeah, I got it, I wrote it down and I understand what you're saying, but I'm not enlightened yet. Then the teacher would say, I see the problem. Here is a mantra. Go and repeat it. Come back after 15 years. Morning and evening. What is the problem? The problem is at this level, somewhere at this level. That teaching should lead to enlightenment. If it doesn't, if it still seems like something theoretical, something in a book, okay, preparation of the mind is necessary. I remember this young monk who came to our monastery, and we were teaching the usual stuff, including all this stuff, Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, we were teaching that in the class, and all sorts of things were being taught for the novices. And one day, one monk was teaching them, the novices, was teaching them puja, the traditional worship, and a part of the puja is a little bit of pranayama, controlling the prana. And a part of that, you do this, breathe in to a count of maybe 4, Om, 4 times. Hold it to a count of 16, and then let it go to a count of 8, then again breathe into a count of 4, and so on. So that's a pranayama, control of the breath. It's a part of the puja, it's initial preparation. When that was shown, this young novice, he went, wow, this is what I was looking for. Now we had already gone through Vedanta and Drigdrishya Viveka and the difference between the body and the mind and the pure consciousness, and he was, yeah, all this is interesting. So that's where our level is. Show me something to do, something weird, and then I'll go, okay, I'm spiritual. It's alright to listen to a lecture on Panchadasi, that's fine, interesting. If you can show me how to do a headstand, man, that's really something. But that just shows my state. So the teachers in those days would say, okay, you do that. Next life, come back, we'll wait. Alright. Now, Drigdrishya Viveka is one method, Avastatraya is one, Panchakosha is one. Here, the teacher who is teaching the student, we see that he takes up one method. That is the last one. It could be any of them. Just for an example, here this last one is taken up, Panchakosha. So what is it and how does it work? Let's see. Panchakosha Viveka, this method is based on the Taittiriya Upanishad. One of the Upanishads, the Taittiriya Upanishad, 2nd chapter, where all the details are given. What is this method? This method proceeds on the principle that if you want to teach something very subtle, you should start with the obvious. You should start with the gross and then go to the subtle. You should start with what is known and then go to the unknown. The golden rule of teaching, step by step. So let's see. What it does is, it starts with, I want to show you that you are Brahman, pure consciousness. That's difficult. So let me start with what you think is obvious. What do you think you are? And I say, here. The student says, here I am, this. Oh, this body, this is what you think you are? Yes. Alright, let's see. So the body is called the Annamaya. In English, food sheet. Sheet, the word sheet is kosha. Anna means food. Maya means an effect, a transformation of food. Why is it called that? It's because this body is what we eat, what we had for lunch and dinner, and all of it is being assimilated into the body. So the body is basically a modification of what we eat and drink. That's why it's called the Annamaya. Now, do you think you are the body? And the student says, yeah, I feel that. But then notice something. Alright, I will not go into this, the usual way of Panchakosha Viveka. There's a particular technique for that. And that Vidyaranya does in the 3rd chapter. But in this chapter, he takes a novel way out. So let me just point out the 5 sheets, and then I will just follow the way this chapter he has taken in this chapter. It's a new way of doing the Panchakosha Viveka, which is normally not done. So what he does is this. The Annamaya is a food sheet. If we look within, we find the life processes, breathing, assimilation of food, that which transforms food into flesh and blood and bone, the circulation of blood, all the life processes going on in the body. That's called prana, life. Pranamaya. And its English translation would be vital sheet. As we look deeper, then we find beyond, subtler than inner to the pranamaya, and subtler than that, we find the mind, thoughts, memories, feelings, the mind. That's called the manomaya. The mental sheet or mind sheet. As you look deeper than that, it's actually the mind, but a modification of the mind, a part of the mind which is the intellect. It's the same thing, but when you are just thinking, when you are between two options, that's the mind, which is swinging from one alternative to another. But when you say that, I know my name is Swami Sarvapriyananda. I know that I am this body. It's a wrong knowledge, but I feel I know. I know 2 + 2 is 4. That I know, that faculty, that's the intellect. The feeling we get as kids when we are working through a mathematics problem and we suddenly feel that, I got it now. That flash of understanding. That's the intellect. That's called the Vidyaranya. Vijnana means intellect. In English, intellect sheep. And beyond that, beyond the intellect, understanding, which we are using right now. What's the intellect sheet? Nothing theoretical. You are using it right now. Beyond that, by beyond I mean subtler than that, inner to that, is what is called Anandamaya. We know our attention normally does not go there, but it's there. That is the bliss sheet. Bliss might be a misnomer. It's what we experience in deep sleep. When the intellect shuts down, when we are not aware of the mind functioning, or the prana functioning, or the existence of the body sleeping on the bed, with all of this is blanketed, it's blank. We are not aware of any of this. In deep sleep, that blankness, that restfulness, that's this. And this is what we know about ourselves. None of this is Vedanta, by the way. It's just pointing out, labeling what we know about ourselves. We don't notice it. Vedanta is just pointing it out to us. Look, here you have a body. And in subtler than the body, inner to the body, you have life forces. And inner to that, you have the mind. Subtler than that. And inner to the mind and subtler than the mind is the intellect, which is also the mind, but it's a very fine part of the mind. And inner to that, subtler than that, when everything is blanketed out in deep sleep, that blankness, that restfulness, that quietness there, that's called the Anandamaya. Just that thing itself is called the Anandamaya. All of this is not unknown to us. This is what we experience. And this is the range of what we experience. What are you is the question. What are you? Are you the body, or the life forces, or the mind, or the intellect, or the blankness beyond everything, strange as that might sound, or a combination of all of these things? What are you? And the usual way of doing Panchakosha Vichara, which you find in Taittiriya Upanishad and in the 3rd chapter of this book, there is a usual way where what the teacher does is shows you that you cannot be the body. Why can you not be the body? Because it shows you that you were the body has changed so much from a baby to a child to a teenager to a middle-aged person, a senior person. It changes so much. But you feel, I was that kid, I was the teenager, I was that young person, I am the senior person then. I am the same person, and yet the body has changed enormously. How can you be both changing and changeless? So if you feel that you are unchanging and the body is changing, you cannot be the body. One reason. Another reason, what we saw earlier, isn't the body an object of your awareness? Body is an object. You are the experiencer. The body is experienced. You are drashta, seer. Body is seen, drishya. The seer and the seen, the subject and object cannot be the same thing. Hence you are not the body. Because clearly it's an object of experience. Hence you are not the body. Second reason. Third reason is you are awareness. All the time when you talk about yourself, you talk about yourself as sentience, awareness, consciousness. And the body is an object. Not aware, not sentient, not conscious. We can talk about that. It appears to be conscious because it borrows consciousness from you. But in general it's not conscious. I mean, a simple experiment which I talked about, I think yesterday, is that if you look at any part of the body, here I'm looking at my hand, notice the quality of this experience. When I look at my hand, notice the quality of this experience. I feel I am aware of the hand. I don't feel the hand is aware of me. That would be scary. Like some horror movie. The hand says hello. No, I am aware of the hand. I don't feel that there's no such experience that the hand is aware of me. So my experience is that I am aware. Awareness in the texture of our experience, if you notice it carefully, awareness seems to be on my side, not on the side of the hand. And the hand is just one part of the body. The other part is also the same. Legs and belly and head and the chest and everything are, these are all parts. None of them seem to be aware of me. I seem to be aware of them. So no individual part of the body seems to be aware. So the collective thing is not aware. The whole body is not aware of me, and yet I am aware of the body. I am awareness, the body is insentient. I am sentient, the body is insentient. How can I be the body? So such reasons are given to show that you are not the body. Not just argue. You have to understand these reasons, understand the arguments, but go one step further. Use them as pointers to see that you are not the body. If you are holding on to the fact that I am a body, no amount of playing the lawyer to say that what your lordship or your honor, you're not the body. The accused says he's the body, but he's not the body. No amount of arguing will prove to the person who's convinced that I'm the body. You may give very nice arguments, but I still feel I'm the body. So you are supposed to see that you are not the body, an insight. And then you move from here to the vital sheet, and similar arguments are given. That the vital sheet is changing, you are unchanging. It's an object, you are aware of it, you are the one who's aware. The vital sheet is an object of awareness. For such reasons, you are not the vital sheet, you are not the mind sheet, you are not the intellect sheet. And like this, the movement is like this. That's the normal way of using this. The accustomed way of using this method of 5 sheets. But what the teacher does here is quite interesting. He points it out to the student. You are all of this. Now, he says, here, this one is called the gross body. Do you remember we learned about the gross body? And this one here is called the subtle body. These 3 together. And this one here is called the causal body. Remember we called ignorance the causal body in the morning? No? Doesn't matter, it's there in your notes. You'll see. So here you have 5 sheets of what? Of yourself, the human personality. And 3 bodies. Basically it's the same thing, but we are classifying in different ways. If you see it as the food sheet, vital sheet, mind sheet, intellect sheet and bliss sheet, then you are looking at this whole structure as 5 sheets. If you look at it as gross body, inside life and mind and intellect, subtle body, beyond that the blankness, causal body. Then you're looking at it as 3 bodies. Now what the teacher says is, oh disciple, see that you have a physical body, yes. Your subtle body, yes. And a causal body beyond that, yes. Which one are you? Of these 3, which one are you? Are you all of them together, or are you one of them, or are you none of them? He's going to show. And what is the method that he uses? The method he uses is, in this book, the new method, not the method which is traditionally used. The new method he uses is called Anvaya Vetireka. The method of agreement and difference. The method of agreement and difference. Method of presence and absence. Method of presence and absence. We have already seen this in the morning. I'll demonstrate how the teacher teaches that you are not the physical body or the subtle body or the causal body. What the teacher says is, the essence of the problem is this. What am I of these 3 bodies? What am I? Am I the same as the physical body, or am I different from the physical body? Remember this example, the pen and its cap? Are the pen and the cap the same thing, or are they different entities? They seem to be together, but are they different entities? Are the car and the driver the same one entity, or are they different entities? They usually seem to be together, but we know they are different. Why? I can show you the driver apart from the car, and I can show you the car apart from the driver. I can show you the pen apart from the cap, and I can show you the cap apart from the pen. This is basically the method of presence and absence, agreement and difference. So this method is used by the teacher. The teacher says, oh student, attend to this. Do you think you are the physical body? You are the same as the physical body? Yeah, why not? Well, consider your dream experiences. Did you dream when you were dreaming? You went to sleep on the bed and then you forgot all of that and you were dreaming? You were somewhere else and with other people and things were happening. That's a dream experience. Did you have a dream experience? And the student says, yes. So in your dream, were you there? Of course I was there. I mean, as a self, as an experience of the dream. And the body sleeping on the bed, was it any part of your dream? No. That means the dream experience shows you are present, body is absent. Physical body, gross body. I and physical body or gross body. In dream, when you dream, aren't you there? Otherwise, who dreamt? Whatever you are in the dream, a mind or psychic presence, whatever, but you are there because it's your dream after all. So in your dream, are you there or not?
Yes.
Yes. And in your dream, is the gross body a part of the dream? Now don't say here, obviously the body is there, it's sleeping on the bed, I am not aware of it. That's the point. From your perspective, from your experience, do you have any existence, any proof of your existence without awareness of the body? Answer is yes. That's the dream state. Where I have a first person experience of my own existence and without any reference to the physical body. I've just totally lost touch with the physical body in my experience. Somebody seeing it from outside will say, yeah, you were sleeping on the bed, I saw your body. But then you didn't see me. No, not making sense. In the waking state, what happens is, I and the body are present together. Right now, consider this. Why is it so difficult to separate yourself from the body here, to see yourself as separate from the body? Because in your experience right now, body is present and you are also present. Now I am showing you an experience which you have, which we all have, where you were present but the body was not present. Stay with this. Is it difficult?
No.
Everybody's quiet because of two reasons. It's fairly obvious, get along with it. Or it could be, I don't know what he's saying.
No more. We enjoying your
Right. No. You must walk with me.
Yes.
Yeah. You must follow me. Otherwise, I'll think I'm doing great. At the end of it, everybody looks mystified. What did he say?
No, we are with you.
As kids, we used to read these Tintin comics. So in those Tintin comics, there's one of them is Explorers on the Moon or something like that. So there is this professor, calculus, and there is this Captain Haddock who's fond of cursing and everything, you know. And so Professor Calculus is walking and explaining how a nuclear fission reaction takes place. You know, neutron goes into the nucleus and it splits the nucleus and releases some amount of energy and some other particles and so on. They're walking and you can see Captain Haddock is right behind the professor and he doesn't understand any of it. It's so mystifying. He has this fierce scowl on his face. And at one point the professor stops and looks back. Are you following me? And the captain with a fierce scowl says, yes, of course, we are right behind you. Not in that way. We must walk together. It's a very simple point. I am showing you an experience which you cannot deny, your dreams, where you experience so many things but not your physical body. Which means, the conclusion being, like this. I am showing you one without the other, or this one without the other. I am showing you without the body. Hence, what does it mean? I am showing you the cap without the pen. It means cap and pen are not connected and they are not one entity. You and the body are not one entity. Though in the waking state you seem to function completely integrated with the body, but you and the body are not one entity by this kind of thinking. So I am not the body. At one stroke, the teacher shows. Am I the mind? This one, the subtle body, the vital sheet, mind sheet, intellect sheet. Am I this one? Vedanta says no. The mind sheet is different, the subtle body is different and you are different. How can you show that? Deep sleep. Now, the state of deep sleep, it bears thinking about. Thinking about, don't go into deep sleep. Think about deep sleep in your waking state. Use the mind to think about it. Use the intellect to think about it. What happens in deep sleep? The gross body and the subtle body are clearly not evident in deep sleep. Are clearly not evident in deep sleep. You're not aware of the body in deep sleep. You're not aware of the mind in deep sleep, the intellect or the prana or the breathing or the life forces going on in its body. You're not aware of any of that in deep sleep. And yet, are you there? You might say, no, I'm not there. If you are not there, who or what experienced the deep sleep? You say, who? If you protest, you say, who experienced the deep sleep? Nobody experienced the deep sleep. If nobody experienced the deep sleep, you wouldn't claim to have had deep sleep. When you wake up, when you say, I was awake, I went into sleep and I dreamt, I agree that I dreamt, and then there was a period of dreamless sleep. I slept like a log. We have this expression, similar expressions in all countries of the world, in all languages. The experience of deep sleep is undeniable. Everybody experiences a period of complete rest and blankness. Yet that is also an experience. An experience of absence is not absence of experience. Deep sleep is an experience of absence. It's still an experience. An experience requires consciousness. You were there in deep sleep because it was your deep sleep. Otherwise, if you had no experience of deep sleep, if there was no experiencer, some kind of experience was not there, then what would happen is you would say, I was awake, I fell asleep, I dreamt, I'm awake again. But we don't say that. You say, I fell asleep, I dreamt, and there were periods of nothing, just blank. And now I'm awake. That nothing, just blank, deep peace, slept like a log, didn't know anything, that is deep sleep. Yeah. So, the method of absence and this absence and presence, Ande Vyattireka, he shows, here is a state which we all experience without experience of physical body, without experience of mind and intellect and prana, yet I am there. I am there, remember, not as, you don't say there, you don't feel it, you don't think it. If you say it, feel it, think it, then the mind is there. Right? Because the mind is not there, we cannot say or think even that I am in deep sleep. If you think I am in deep sleep, you are not in deep sleep. Alright. So deep sleep, when you think back upon deep sleep from this position, it shows that you cannot be the subtle body also. Because the subtle body was not present in deep sleep, yet you claim to have a deep sleep experience. So you can exist without the subtle body. So you are not the body, you are not the mind. What about the causal body? The last one. Because deep sleep is supposed to be an experience of the causal body. Here, the teacher says, in samadhi, I am present. I not as the ego, as the witness consciousness. And the gross, subtle and causal bodies are not present. Causal body is ignorance, avidya. In samadhi that is also gone. So when that is gone, I am present alone only as consciousness without an object. That's in samadhi. So I realize myself as witness consciousness apart from the physical body, apart from the subtle body, apart from the causal body. What happens in the waking state is, physical body is present and I am also here. So it's very natural to think, I am this body. But when we consider the dream experience, I realize I can exist, I can dream without any reference to the physical body. Physical body may be on my bed and sleeping soundly, and I might be doing whitewater rafting on a river. That's my experience. Where is the physical body sleeping on the bed? There, nowhere. And yet I exist. Now, the third thing is, okay, now in the deep sleep state, I experience an existence without thinking anything. Without any thoughts, memories, personal identity, individuality, all of it is erased. But an existence of darkness and blankness and nothingness. That experience shows I can be something without a gross body and a subtle body, without the body and mind. And the experience of Samadhi shows I can be without the darkness of deep sleep also, without the mind also, without the physical body also. So by the method of agreement and disagreement, presence and absence, he has shown, like this and this separately. He has shown if we consider our experience, our day-to-day experience, we will see, just take a look at that. I'm pointing it out to you. You cannot be the body, though you work through the body. You cannot be the mind, though you use the mind and intellect. You cannot be the blankness of deep sleep. Do you experience that also? You are something apart from the causal body, subtle body, gross body. This pointing out, yes.
Is this any different from being aware of not being aware? Which is what you said before.
Being aware of not being aware is deep sleep.
That's it?
Yes.
Right. Is there any difference between that and what you're saying now?
No, it's the same thing.
Same thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just another way of saying it.
This is another way of saying it. This is just the method of presence and absence. It's the method of pointing out, yeah. Yeah.
I'm starting a little bit with the deep sleep example. Couldn't one say that one doesn't actually experience deep sleep when one comes out of deep sleep, one experiences the after effects of having deep sleep?
Yes. That also might be possible. There is a school of thought which says that there is no experience in deep sleep. It's not an experience of absence. It's just no experience at all. It's not a Vedantic school. It's a Nyaya school, for example. They say that. And they say, then how do you explain that we feel I had deep sleep, I slept nicely, I had complete rest, I did not experience any trouble or I did not experience anything. That thing, how do you explain that? That feeling which is common to everybody. We've all experienced it. So then the Nyayikas will say, the Nyaya school, they'll say, we infer it. We infer it. And that might seem reasonable until you take a closer look and it does not seem reasonable. Why? Do we actually do this? I went to sleep at 10 p.m. last night. Then I had a series of dreams. In all those dreams couldn't have lasted more than 2 or 3 hours. Maybe 2 hours. And I woke up at 6 a.m. today. That's 8 hours. The remaining 6 hours or 4 hours must have been deep sleep. Do we ever do that? Never. Without even looking at the clock, when I get up early in the morning and slowly our waking awareness comes up, we come up into the waking world, we feel the tendrils of dreams floating away, slowly forgetting dreams. And we also feel there were gaps, there were complete deep rest. Sometimes we get that without any inference at all. Vedanta is you cleave closely to your experience. Your experience is supplying you with all you need for enlightenment.
Swamiji, that inference might not be based on calculations of time. It might just be based on the fact that you wake up and you say, I feel horrible, and you must not have gotten any deep sleep, or I feel good, therefore I had
I feel good, therefore I had deep sleep, or that feeling of emerging from a complete blank state.
You can call that an inference.
That, would it be an inference? Or would it be an experience?
Experience.
It's an experience. You look back upon the texture of it. Alright, let's take a completely, something very new, a very modern approach to it. Completely materialistic neuroscience approach to it. I saw a recent article by the same Evan Thompson on deep sleep. And he says, based on the fMRI studies of the brains in deep sleep, study of the brain waves, the readings from the scans of the brains in deep sleep, we are not justified in saying that there is no consciousness in deep sleep. The brain is quite busy in deep sleep. Quite busy. Quite busy in deep sleep. The brain is quite busy in deep sleep. Different patterns for dreams, different patterns of activity for waking, but definitely busy. Neurons are firing, things are happening in the brain. So purely on an objective basis, from a distance, if I look at the data shows me what is happening during consciousness. Where you report consciousness, you're awake. Are you conscious? Yes. What I see in your brain is more or less similar to what I see when you are in deep sleep. Then my point is, then from a very materialistic point of view, you would say that there's something in deep sleep. Why we have a problem with this is, our general understanding of consciousness is a waking consciousness or at most a dream consciousness, where there is a subject and an object. And we have thoughts and feelings and perceptions. That's what we call consciousness. You take away all the objects, we feel nothing. But that nothing you are aware of. Right? One powerful example I showed, I can't do it here maybe. Actually I can. I'll show you something. I'll go there where there's bright sunlight. This carpet here, right? Between the window and here. It just seems to be empty space. Here, this place, right? About my height, my chest height. Right here in front of me. Just look at this here. It just seems to be what? Blank. Just air, space. At the most there is air there. If I tell you it's full of light, it doesn't look like it. It's just blank. It's shining. It's overflowing with light and radiance here. Show me. Look. Right? Here. If I do it here, nothing. If I do it here, it's glowing. Here, I'm not playing with the sun. Here, right here. Here, this spot here. No light. You don't see any light.
Well, it needs an object.
Ah, here is the thing. It needs an object. Light is there. It's full of light. It needs an object to express itself. Now, see, what Vedanta, in Vedantic language, the light illumines the object. The paper napkin shines in the light. But what does the napkin do for the light? There is a Sanskrit word, it is said abhivyakti. It manifests the light. The light is present here but not manifest to us. It is manifested when a reflector comes along. What does the light do for the paper napkin? It illumines. What does the paper napkin do for the light? It manifests an already existing light. We become aware of the light. Normally we don't look at the second phenomenon. We just say, okay, I see the paper napkin now. But do you see the enormous amount of light here? I did this once in a presentation in Nalanda University. I gave a talk there and I wanted to prove that there is consciousness in deep sleep, the same question. And then there was this, for a PowerPoint presentation, there's a projector. So the PowerPoint and the projector usually has a very powerful beam of light. So there was a projector there and projecting onto the screen next to me. I suddenly had this stroke of this brainwave and I said, look, this space between me, it seems to be blank. Just, it's like this and this, it's the same thing. But look, I put my hand here, nothing happens. But I put my hand here. You see? And there the beam of light was very focused and very powerful. It shone white. So much light there. Right? So here, you see? When I take it away, nothing. In the same way, what happens according to Vedanta, what happens in deep sleep is, there are no thoughts, no emotions, no perception, nothing to shine in consciousness. So the objects are not there, no body, no world, no mind, no thought, no dreams. So nothing shines in consciousness. And the consciousness is also not manifested because there's nothing to be reflected. Right?
Is there also no time, space?
No time, space. No experience of time and space in deep sleep.
So would that be true if the object of perception was a homogeneous mass of just, say, just homogeneous substance without shape?
Yes. In fact, that's what Vedanta says. It is avidya, a homogeneous mass of ignorance.
Right.
And that's what you're experiencing in deep sleep. Deep sleep is, according to Vedanta, deep sleep is not enlightenment. Deep sleep is not enlightenment. I give another example. Example of in earlier days when we were kids, these movie halls. You'd go and see a movie, a film. And when the film is on, it's like this. When the film is on, you're seeing the picture, the film. And at one time they used to have these intervals. I don't know if they have intervals in movies anymore. They used to have intervals in the movies halls in India. And you can go out and eat popcorn or something like that. So they switch off the movie for a while, 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and then you can come back in again. Now when there's an interval, the movie is switched off. And what happens is there's a darkness in the hall. You don't see the movie, but you don't see anything else also. And then the lights of the hall come on, where you actually see the hall and the screen and everything. When you're seeing the movie, it's waking state or dream state. When everything is switched off for the interval, darkness, that's deep sleep. When the actual lights come on and you see the hall as it is, that's enlightenment.
And the image disappears.
The what?
The movie
image disappears, but don't extend it too far. Because in enlightenment, the enlightened people see the same world, but they know it. When you are enlightened about the forest in the lake, you still see it, the forest in the lake, but you know it's the lake, there's no forest in there. So it will not apply exactly like that. Yes.
I think I've had a misunderstanding about the Anandamaya kosha.
Yes.
And then I heard it called as the ego.
No, the ego is here. At this level. Level of the mind and the intellect. Sometimes they put it here, sometimes they put it here. The ego.
Wow.
And it's very easy to see. Why don't you just see it in your own mind? Just say I. Did you feel I? When you feel the I, that I is clearly in the mind. It's not in the body. But it's not the Atman, not pure consciousness also. Because when you feel I, there is something which is illumining or watching the I. The real I is not the ego. The ego is in the subtle body. The ego is in the subtle body, here. The ego is here. Yes.
Maharaj, the two eyes, deep sleep and samadhi's eyes, are they the same eyes?
No,
Different eyes.
what we are talking about is, right now, we are trying to discuss, we are trying to find out, who are you? What are you? So in the waking state, very difficult to say what I am because I am all present with the body and the mind. But in the dream state, I am present without the body. So I cannot be the body. I am there minus body. So the cat without the head. In the deep sleep state, I am there in some form. And I am not the body and not the mind. And in samadhi, I am there. Because after all, who experiences samadhi? I experience samadhi. And the gross body is not there, subtle body is not there, the causal body is not there. This I is pure consciousness, the witness. But it is also here. It's also here. It's also here.
But that
It's also here right now.
The samadhi separates it to that place.
The samadhi separates, or does it actually separate, or it just shows the separation?
Shows the separation.
Right. When the driver is in the car, when you see the car with the driver, has the driver been permanently attached to the car?
No.
No, but to understand the difference between the driver and the car, you must ask the driver to step out. You can appreciate the driver apart from the car. Even when the driver is inside the car and driving it, it's still separate. So, even when you are in the body, gross body, and subtle body, and causal body, even when you are there and driving this vehicle, you're still separate from it. Yes.
So Swami, don't they point out that the difference between deep sleep and samadhi is that when you wake up from deep sleep and you went to sleep a fool, you're
Yeah.
still a fool.
Yes.
But in samadhi, you're transformed into a
Right. The deep sleep is regarded as a seed state. All your waking and dreaming is there. In deep sleep, have you noticed something? Your waking and my waking are different. Why? Because your body is different, my body is different. Your personal history is different, you're a different person, I'm a different person. So our experiences are different. Right now, for example, you're seeing it from that perspective. I'm seeing you all from this perspective. Our experiences are different. So everybody's waking experience is different. Our dreams are also different. You dream of something, I dream of something else. Our dreams are also different. But have you noticed, all our deep sleep experiences are exactly the same? Experiences are different from each other. Absence of the experience of absence is the same for everybody. Because in absence, there cannot be any distinguishing feature.
So Maharaj, in sleepwalking, which is not common, but maybe we are all sleepwalking in a certain way, but who is missing in sleepwalking? What is missing?
Forget that, because sleepwalking, who sees sleepwalking? You don't see it. See, the reason why I'm not going there is that again you're looking at it objectively from outside. But I'm asking, what about the person inside? If the person is sleepwalking, then the person is in deep sleep. Or maybe dreaming. That person doesn't experience the sleepwalking, so that person has no connection with that particular body, at least for that time being. This whole thing is an analysis about you yourself. You see, Vedanta always is extremely subjective. Subjective not in a bad way. In Vedanta, the objective approach is a bad word. The subjective approach, because the objective approach in Vedanta is akin to falsity. Object is false. It's something superimposed on the subject. You say, why would that be a good thing? Don't you see? All your life, you have been subjective and subjective alone. Even in all your efforts to be objective in science, who is trying to be objective? The subject. You can never step 1 millimeter away from the subject because you are eternally the subject. And Vedanta starts with the subject. To make progress in science, you need to be objective. To be fair in judiciary and law and judging cases, you need to be objective in certain respects. But the fact is, our life is entirely a life of the subject. So this experience is from the point of view of subject. When you ask sleepwalking, it's an objective thing. Other people see the person sleepwalking. And what are they seeing sleepwalking? A body. They don't experience the subject inside the body. What is the subject doing? Maybe in deep sleep. Has no connection with the body. So from the Vedanta's point of view, it's not an interesting data. Because it's not a data at all. How many of you have experienced sleepwalking? You would say many of us, we have experienced sleepwalking. I will say no, you're not telling the truth.
Okay, yes, Maharaj.
If you experience it, then you are walking, not sleepwalking.
I was dreaming that I was walking, and in fact, I was walking.
You're dreaming. So you are
The
experiencing.
objects in the dream weren't the same as the
Yeah,
objects.
exactly. So there was some seepage from the physical body into your awareness in the dream. But your awareness was of a dream world. If you experience sleepwalking, it's a contradiction in terms. From a Vedantic perspective. If you're asleep, by definition, you're not aware of the physical body.
I heard another one say, there's just walking. I am not walking. It's not I. There's just walking.
Where? Where is this coming from?
I remember Alan Watts saying.
That's very Buddhistic, because Alan Watts had inputs from Advaita Vedanta and Buddhism also.
That's it.
So it's a very Buddhistic approach. By the way, Alan Watts has this other quip which I like very much. He says that if religion is the opium of the masses, then I must say that the Hindus have the inside dope. Alright. So this is the teaching given by the teacher to the student. And he's supposed to be enlightened by this, that by the method of presence and absence, I am not the physical body, I am not the subtle body, I am not the causal body. And in that case, what am I? Clearly the experiencer of the physical, subtle and causal bodies. If I am the experiencer and not the physical, subtle or causal bodies, in that case, I must be consciousness. Yes.
Swami, is that what it is, the neti?
This is neti. Not this,
Yeah,
not
that's
this.
it.
This is neti.
That's neti, but you know what you're denying.
Yes.
That's the difference. The knowledge of what it is. Neti is too diffuse. There's no object of neti that you're denying that you know. Am I right? That you know what you're talking about. And that's, and you're knowing that's not real. But in neti, it just seems to be not complete, because it didn't have the knowledge of what it was that you were denying, what it was you were saying you were not.
The neti, when you use it in the Upanishads, the use is very precise. They're very clear about it. Why am I not this pen? You'll say, what a ridiculous idea, Swami. It's a pen, it's an object. You are the person who is knowing or holding the pen. You are not the pen. Because it's an object, because I know it, if you know it, it must be an object. It's an object in your awareness. If it's an object in your awareness, you cannot be the object. You are the subject.
Yeah. So you were denying the object.
You are denying that you are the object.
That's right.
Right. Now look at applied to the body.
You have a subject.
Now applied to the body. The same principle. Is the body an object or not? Is the body an object or not? The body is an object.
Yes.
If the pen is an object, I am not the pen. The body is an object. How can I be the body? Then neti, not this. Then you go to the subtle body, not this. And the causal body, not this. And therefore, what are you? What are you?
Consciousness.
Yes, because you are aware of all of this.
That's right.
Yes. And that consciousness has no objective element. If you eliminate every objective element from your consciousness, you are enlightened. Eliminate means in your understanding. You cannot physically eliminate. Neti can be interpreted in this sense. One is, every object, I am not that. I am the witness or I am the consciousness of that. So, object, I am not. First neti. Now, when you eliminate all objects, you know what you'll end up with? A blankness. A blankness. So I don't exist. No, neti, not that also. First neti means I am not any object in this universe, including body, including life, including mind, including intellect, including causal body. None of these objects I am. Then that leaves nothing. So I am not existing. Neti, not that either. You are the witness of all these objects. You are the witness of the absence of all of these objects. That unchanging witness consciousness you are. Shankaracharya gives a very, I'll end with this. Shankaracharya gives a very nice story in his commentary on the Aitareya Upanishad. In the story goes like this. A man was scolded by his teacher, rebuked by his teacher, and the teacher said, "You're not human. You're just not human. Get out of here." And the man he felt so bad, and the student, and he was sitting there moping. Another person comes along and says, "Why are you sad?" "My teacher said I'm not human." "I am not human." Then this person said, "Okay, I'll help you. Don't feel bad. What is not human?" "At a rock." "Yeah, a rock is not human." "So are you a rock?" "No, I'm not." "What is not human?" "That plant, the tree." "Yeah." "Are you a tree?" "No, I'm not." And he goes on like this, eliminating all not humans. The tree, the deer, and the birds, and so on, the snakes. And he eliminates all not humans. And the man agrees readily. "Yeah, I am not any of these not humans." So none of the not humans are you. You are not human. Okay? Then Shankaracharya asks, if after all of this, that man asks, "Yeah, I am not human. Then what am I?" If he asks after that, nobody can help him. You're supposed to get it. If I'm not human, I must be human. If I'm not any object, I must be the consciousness aware of all of these objects. If the teacher directly points out, you are pure consciousness, what will happen is, we'll start looking for an object called pure consciousness. We'll never find it.
Okay.
You are pure existence, we'll start looking for a thing called pure existence. That we have this objectifying tendency.
Yes.
This is the back door.
Yes. The back door into the mind. Yeah. The last question then. Yes.
Is that what science is doing right now to find consciousness? Objectifying?
Yes, they are objectifying. Because this crucial idea, it's very difficult for people to grasp. That there can be something other than objects. And the whole scientific enterprise has been enormously, by its very nature, by its very code and ethics, has been objective. So they want to find a thing called consciousness. Advaita Vedanta says you never ever will. What will happen is, my feeling is, as they seriously investigate, they will end up with, you know what they'll end up with? They'll end up with the subtle body. So far, they're trying to find consciousness in the brain, which is part of the physical body. They have no idea of actually a state of matter for the subtle body, which we saw today in the morning, what is called tanmatra, the subtle elements. So something like that will be found. Now it will have two kinds of repercussions. If you actually find something like that, that's an enormous step forward for both science and religion. Because once you find subtle matter, that's something that survives death. What dies? The physical body, the gross matter. That falls apart at death. But the subtle body lives on. So the whole idea of us in an immortal soul which lives after the death of the physical body will have a scientific basis then, if you actually find such a thing. One. But the second unintended consequence could be, scientists will claim, we have found consciousness. No, you have not. You have found a very subtle kind of object. Body is a physical object, brain is a physical object, but all of that is a subtle kind of object. Still an object. That's not consciousness. Pure consciousness can never be objectified. But the search is important. The search is very important.
After the Brahmagyan, which is, I'm just asking the question. So these three will go?
These three?
These three, Vijnanam, Manomaya and Pranamaya?
Here's a question. Interesting. People ask these questions. After you become enlightened, will the subtle body go away? After you realize there is no forest in the lake, will some of the trees disappear? You're looking at the lake and you see the forest there. No. But you realize there is no forest there. It just looks like that. Once you realize that, will the forest disappear? No.
But I know that it is.
Now you know there is no forest. If you take a dive in there, you will not get entangled in trees in there. It's just water. In the same way, what we think right now, here is a body, in this is a mind and an intellect, and beyond that some blankness called deep sleep and whatever. This is what I think. That's what is real. The enlightened person knows the only reality is existence, consciousness, bliss, in which appears like the forest in the lake, a body and a mind and a physical body, subtle body, causal body. And after enlightenment, what will happen? It will all go on working just the way it is working. Will the body feel hungry after being enlightened? Sure. Will the mind think? Sure. You will not become mindless after enlightenment. But you will never regard these things as real anymore. What is real? All those trees in the forest on the lake, they are just water there. Actually, there is no trees there. Similarly, this body is nothing other than Satchidananda. Mind is nothing other than Satchidananda. Intellect is nothing other than Satchidananda. All the things that appear to you in consciousness are nothing other than you, the consciousness. In the first step, I repeat this again and again, in Advaita, 2 steps. In the first step, we step back from body, mind, gross body, subtle body, causal body, universe, and we discover ourselves as pure consciousness. But this is just Sankhya. You have separated 2 things. Now when you say this thing does not exist, it is just the radiance of this consciousness. It's like asking you to separate the forest in the lake from the lake water. That you separate in your mind. But you also realize the forest in the lake is nothing apart from the lake. It is just the lake itself. It appears like that. In the same way, as consciousness appears as this world, as the body, as the subtle body, as the causal body. All of it is consciousness.
Well, you negate the mirage, which means you're not going to run off into the desert, wasting your time trying to get...
Absolutely. Vivekananda put it in Rajputana in the desert. He saw a mirage, water. He was thirsty. He went there to get water. He saw it's a mirage. There's no water there. It looks like water. Alright. Now he knows there's no water. He starts walking. And he looks back. What does he see? Water. But now he knows there is no water there. He knows it's just a mirage. In the same way, this entire world, which seems so attractive and so terrifying, fear, anxiety and fear and attraction, all of that, because we give it reality. What do you mean reality? Reality apart from us. There is a real terrifying thing out there apart from me. There is a really tempting thing out there apart from me. So I run after that and I run away from that, and that's my life.
Isn't it amazing that the illusion still exists?
The illusion will still persist because that's Maya. I will talk a little more about this. Just hold on to this. We are going to have some real food now. Not illusion. Real food for real hunger. And then we'll come back and turn it into illusion again. So hold this thought. Hold this thought. I'll talk about it. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanastu. So this was, in Vedantic teaching, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Teaching, reflection, meditation. So the teacher has taught the student. This was the teaching, the Shravana. Then there will be, the student will have questions, doubts. No, this is wrong, that's wrong. And so that's settled. And then there will be teaching on meditation. So that remains.